moments. When did your child's partner truly win you over? For some of you, maybe it was an instant connection, the first handshake, the first laugh, and you just knew. But for me, oh no. It was a long, hard journey, and it took a terrible, heartbreaking moment for me to finally see past my own prejudice. My son-in-law Elliot is one of the best men I've ever known, but I didn't want to like him when he first showed up. All I saw was trouble. This is the story of how I learned that true character is often hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for a moment of crisis to be revealed. The boy with the tattoos. The first time I met Elliot, my daughter Abigail brought him home during her junior year of college. I had always imagined a certain type of man for my brilliant, beautiful daughter, clean-cut, ambitious, probably a bit nerdy in a charming way, someone who would match the life I knew she was building. But when the front door opened, all my preconceived notions shattered. Elliot stood there, a vision of everything I had taught Abigail to be wary of. He had a full sleeve of intricate, dark tattoos climbing up his left arm, disappearing under the cuff of his t-shirt. He wore heavy motorcycle boots, scuffed and worn, and a leather jacket that was just a little too cool for our quiet suburban home. But the thing that truly screamed heartbreak to me was his easy, confident charm, the kind of charm that felt too practiced, too slick. My husband Dave had the same immediate reaction. Men and their motorcycles, he muttered to me later that night, a universal code for I don't trust him. But I didn't need a code, I just kept my distance. That first dinner was a masterclass in polite, awkward silence. Abigail, God bless her, tried her best to smooth things over. Mom, please give him a chance, she pleaded after Elliot had left. He's studying engineering and he's brilliant. The tattoos are just art. I remember looking at her, this bright, hopeful girl, and feeling a pang of fear. I'm just looking out for you, I said, a line I had probably used 1,000 times. But what I really meant was, you're too young to know what's good for you, and I can see the future from here, and it doesn't end well. For the next 2 years, every time Elliot visited, I maintained what Dave would eventually call my polite frost. It was a delicate act. I was never outwardly rude. I would smile tightly, engage in brief surface-level conversations, and then retreat to my own little world of judgment. I noticed things, little gestures that I chalked up to him trying to impress me. How he always washed dishes without being asked. How he'd put on an apron and help me with the chopping, his hands moving with surprising speed and precision. I noticed how he looked at Abigail when she spoke, his gaze so focused and adoring, as if he was memorizing her every word. He would tilt his head, a small, genuine smile on his lips, and a look in his eyes that I could only describe as pure, unadulterated awe. I saw all this, but I refused to be won over by what I considered surface gestures. I had a story in my head about who he was, and these small acts of kindness didn't fit. When they announced their engagement after graduation, I smiled tightly and said, "Congratulations," while thinking, too young, too soon, too different. They were just starting their lives. Abigail was a straight-A student headed to law school, and Elliot had a great job offer in a city 3 hours away. I worried that he'd hold her back, that his unpredictable nature would be a distraction. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was making a mistake. I just couldn't see the man behind the leather and the ink. The kitchen conversation. The weekend before their wedding, I found myself alone with Elliot in our kitchen. Abigail and Dave had gone to pick up her wedding dress from Final Alterations. The silence in the house was heavy, broken only by the sound of me chopping vegetables for dinner. Elliot walked in, pulled up a chair, and just watched me for a moment. He was quiet, not with his usual easy charm, but with a palpable sense of gravity. "Need help with dinner?" he asked, rolling up his sleeves. "I'm fine," I said automatically, my tone still laced with that polite frost. Then, something in me snapped. The years of anxiety, the endless worry, all bubbled to the surface. I put down my knife, looked him straight in the eye, and asked the question that had been burning a hole in my heart for 2 years. "Tell me," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Why should I believe you're good enough for her?" He set down the glass he was holding and looked at me, not with defiance but with a deep, unsettling honesty. His eyes held no trace of the charming boy I had so easily dismissed. He took a long breath, and then he said simply, "I'm not." My heart sank. My worst fears confirmed. He knew he wasn't good enough. He was admitting it. But then he continued, his voice soft but unwavering. "I'm not," he said again, "but I'll spend my life trying to be." I wanted to dismiss this as more charm, another rehearsed line, but something in his voice stopped me. The raw honesty, the complete lack of ego, the solemn promise in his words. It was the first time I had ever truly heard him. The kitchen, the dinner, all of it faded away. In that moment, I saw a man who understood the weight of the promise he was making. A man who was humble enough to admit his shortcomings but determined enough to commit to a lifetime of effort. The wedding came and went. I was still nervous, but for the first time, a flicker of hope had ignited in me. The call that changed everything. They moved to the new city, 3 hours away. Abigail started law school. I called weekly, listening for signs of discontent, for the first crack in the facade. But all I ever heard was a new kind of happiness in Abigail's voice. A mature, grounded happiness that I had never heard before. Then came the February night when the phone rang at 2 a.m. The sound of it jolted me awake, a primal fear seizing my chest. "Mom," she whispered, her voice tight with pain. "I think I'm losing the baby." My blood ran cold. I didn't even know she was pregnant. My mind reeled. How could I not have known? The distance, law school, everything had kept us from talking about these deeply personal things. "Elliot's driving me to the hospital," she continued, her voice breaking. "Can you come, please?" The please was what broke me. My strong, independent daughter needed her mother. Dave and I drove through a snowstorm to reach them, the silence in the car deafening, filled only with our shared unspoken fear. We arrived just after dawn, the hospital a sterile, cold and quiet place. We found Elliot in the waiting room, his face hollow with grief, his hands gripping each other so tightly his knuckles were white. "She's sleeping," he said, his voice a raspy whisper. "They had to do a DNC. She lost a lot of blood." I sat beside him, not knowing what to say, my body numb with shock. I looked at this man, this boy I had spent 2 years distrusting, and I saw a shell of a person. All his easy charm was gone, replaced by a deep, profound sorrow that I felt as if it were my own. "We were going to tell you this weekend," he continued, staring at his hands as if the news was written on them. "We had a whole announcement planned. She was so excited to tell you." The weight of that lost joy, of the future they were so excited to build, hit me like a physical blow. When Abigail woke, I sat with her while she cried, holding her hand, my heart breaking for her. Later, I went to find coffee and spotted Elliot in the hospital chapel. He was alone in one of the pews, his shoulders shaking silently. He didn't see me. I stood there for a moment, an unexpected wave of empathy washing over me. Then I walked in and sat beside him without speaking. After a long while, he finally said, his voice thick with tears, "I didn't know how much I wanted to be a father until tonight." The raw honesty in his voice, the utter despair of it, cracked something in me. It shattered my polite frost, my prejudice, my preconceived notions. All the walls I had built around my heart, all the judgments I had made, crumbled in that single gut-wrenching moment. I didn't see a boy with tattoos anymore. I just saw a man, a husband, in pain. The man on the porch swing. That evening, when Abigail was cleared to go home, I watched Elliot wrap her in his jacket, whisper something that made her smile despite everything, and carry her bags with such gentle attention that I suddenly saw what had been there all along. It was never about a motorcycle or tattoos. It was about love, deep, quiet, profound love. During the next week, I stayed to help while Abigail recovered. I witnessed their quiet rhythm together, a dance of support and understanding. I saw how Elliot made her tea exactly how she liked it, how he read to her when she couldn't sleep, how they grieved together without blame, holding each other up in the darkness. On my last night there, Elliot found me on the porch swing. He sat beside me, the cool air biting at our cheeks. "Thank you for being here for her," he said, his voice full of gratitude. "For both of you," I corrected. He looked surprised, then grateful. "I know I wasn't what you wanted for her," he admitted, his gaze on the streetlights. "I was wrong," I admitted, the words surprisingly easy to say. "You're exactly what she needs." 6 months later, when Abigail called to tell me she was pregnant again, I heard the mixture of hope and fear in her voice. "Mom," she said, her voice shaking just a little. "We're terrified. But Elliot says we can't let fear steal our joy." I thought about the man I'd finally seen clearly in that hospital, not the tattooed boy I prejudged, but the husband who loved my daughter with a depth that matched my own. "He's right," I told her, "and this time we'll all be there, every step of the way." It took a snowstorm, a hospital, and a heartbreak for me to see the man my daughter saw all along. Don't let your own story about someone blind you to who they truly are. Sometimes the greatest love stories are found in the places we least expect. What's your story? Did you have a moment that changed your mind about your child's partner? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.